Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Lauren, and in this video, I'm going to share my experience with getting cool sculpting. I'll show you my before and after photos and explain what cool sculpting is and how it works. I had cool sculpting done 5 months ago on my upper and lower abdomen, my right flank, and my right saddlebag area on that leg. And it may sound random, but I had liposuction almost 3 years ago, and it was somewhat botched, so I've been dealing with weird pockets of fat, unevenness, and loose skin for a few years now. I also have videos about if you want to learn more. I'll link them below. In this video, I'm just going to be focusing on cool sculpting. And first, this is a fun fact that I learned while I was compiling my research for this video. So cool sculpting was actually developed after 2 doctors discovered that children who sucked on popsicles regularly were developing more contoured cheeks as a result. So the cold was literally melting away the fat cells in their faces. And I just think it's so funny that that is like where cool sculpting began. But here we are today, and it's like one of the top fat loss treatments in the market. So the way that cool sculpting works is because fat cells are more susceptible to cold temperatures than the surrounding skin and tissue. So when you freeze the fat cell, they die and then dissolve, and the rest of the skin and tissue is left unharmed. After the treatment, the frozen and dead fat cells move out of the body. It takes 3 to 4 months to really see the final results. Some people say that they've noticed results in as soon as 3 weeks, but for full results, you need to give it time. So if you want to try this before you have a big event, I suggest doing it like 5 months before so you can see the full results. In this video, I'm going to show you my before photos, my during photos at the each month mark, and then my final 3-month photos so you can see how the results kick in over time. The cool thing with cool sculpting is once the fat cells are killed, they're gone forever. And cool sculpting also can reduce the appearance of cellulite. Cool sculpting is ideal for people that have healthy, active lifestyles. They're close to their target weight. They just have some areas of stubborn fat and they want to avoid more invasive surgical procedures. It's not for people that have a ton of fat to lose or anyone that would be considered obese. It's a fat loss treatment, but it's not a weight loss treatment. So you really won't lose any pounds from getting cool sculpting done. The way it works is our bodies have a fixed number of fat cells that once we hit our teenage years actually remains the same throughout our life. So weight loss isn't really caused by getting rid of fat cells. Instead, it happens when they get smaller. So when you lose weight, they get smaller. When you gain weight, the fat cells get bigger. And that's kind of interesting with cool sculpting because it literally is getting rid of fat cells. So technically, the results are permanent as long as you maintain your healthy lifestyle. One thing that always surprises people is that each treatment only gets rid of up to 25% of the fat. So you'll most likely need more than one treatment, but there's no way to know that before you try it. Some people are happy with the results after just one, but I feel like most people expect to need at least 2 treatments or more, which is kind of scary because each session is very expensive. You may only need 1 or you might need 4. You just don't know. And larger body parts may also require more treatments than smaller body parts. So you might need more in one area than another. But prices per treatment are $650 to $900. That's per applicator. So for me, I used multiple applicators. It adds up fast. The areas you can treat are really anywhere that has fat. So you could do your double chin, your armpit fat, back fat, abdomen, thighs, butt. I mean, literally you could do anywhere. The only thing it doesn't do is tighten skin. It's not a skin tightening procedure. So if you just lost a bunch of weight and now you're just trying to tighten, cool sculpting wouldn't be good for you. Or if you just had a baby, or if you're just noticing that your aging skin is starting to sag, which happens to everyone, cool sculpting isn't really gonna help that. But if you were trying to lose fat cells, then cool sculpting would be great for you because it destroys the fat cells and the results are permanent as long as you keep your weight around the same amount. So, you know, if you gain a bunch of weight, it will look like the treatment didn't work because your other fat cells expanded. So one thing that I really will stress is if you don't maintain your healthy lifestyle, or if you lost weight and you know that your weight fluctuates, cool sculpting might not be the best option for you because the fat cells that are still in your body after the treatment can expand and you might not notice any of your cool sculpting results. Just a heads up. All right, now let's get into what the experience is like. So you go in for a consultation first, and they have these little stencils that They have different shapes and sizes that match up with the size of the applicator for the Coolsculpting machine. And they place them on your body and they kind of figure out, okay, so if you want to do your abdomen, it's going to be 2 treatments up top, 2 applicators on the bottom. So that's 4 separate applicators. If each applicator is $900, that's almost $4,000. So you kind of get how much this adds up fast. But what you do is you take before photos, you see how many applicators you will need, and there's really no way to know if you're going to need more than 1 treatment. So it's kind of scary, and hopefully when you go in for your consultation, they're very honest with you and just say, okay, I think you're going to need at least 2 treatments because you have this much fat you want to lose. If you only lost 25% of that, it would go down to this much fat. So you kind of go in knowing what to expect. You have to have very realistic expectations. And then when you go in for your actual treatment, you take photos, you stand on this little marker and you turn at like 360 degrees and they take photos from each angle. I really like that because most of the places that have Coolsculpting leave that pad on the floor exactly where it is. So next time you go back to take your after photos, it should be the exact same angles and you can really see how your body changed over the 3-month period. Some places will also take your measurements, which I recommend doing. I mean, even you could do that at home and just kind of keep track as the months progress. And then some places will also weigh you. This is more to protect their butt than really for you to lose weight. Like if over the 3 months you completely changed your eating habits and you ended up gaining weight, if you don't see results from your Coolsculpting and they weigh you after the 3 months and you're like, I just don't see any difference, they're gonna say, well, you gained 8 pounds. So, I mean, yeah, your fat cells grew back. So just a heads up, some med spas might do that. That's kind of what happened with my lipo experience and it made me feel like shit. So just a heads up. The place that I went to only took my photos. They didn't weigh me and they didn't measure me, which I regret not doing that myself. So when they draw the markings on you the day of the treatment, this helps them decide where they're gonna place the applicators on the body. When they take the stencil and draw it on you, the placement of that is extremely important. So I recommend looking in a mirror and making sure you like what you see because that's exactly where they're gonna place that applicator and suck in the fat into the device. Once you have everything drawn on your body, you lay down on the treatment bed and they clean the area with what they call a pre-treatment skin wipe. And it's a rough textured skin wipe that's formulated to prepare the skin for the very cold temperature. And then they place a gel pad on top. So there's actually a layer between your skin and the actual applicator, which is really helpful because the gel pad is formulated with ingredients that will protect your skin from the cold. And it also has a fructose base, so it's super sticky. If you touch it, which you will, it's like impossible to avoid. You're gonna know what I'm talking about. It just feels really gross. And then they apply the applicator and line it up to exactly where they drew the stencil on you. And then once they're 100% sure this is where they want it, then they turn the machine on and it sucks all of the fat into the cup. And it doesn't hurt. You just feel some tugging or pulling as it sucks your fat into the device. And then once you're in, you'll start to feel the cold.
The first 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, you're gonna feel almost like either a cramping feeling, that ice bucket of water, really nice and cold. Sometimes it's so cold, like when you squeeze an ice cube really tight, it almost feels like it's burning. Some people are like, why is it hot? It's just that cold. So you might feel those sensations in that applicator area in general. It should go numb.
And it's cold, but it's not unbearable, and then it goes numb. So it's really easy. And then you sit there for like 30 to 45 minutes. I can't remember exactly how long it was. And then when they go to remove the vacuum, so they turn it off and then they like pry it off of your skin and it looks like a frozen stick of butter. It's like this hard piece of fat that's bright red and it feels really weird. It's like numb. It's a whole thing. And they have to do a post 2-minute massage per area. And honestly, this is probably the worst part of the whole treatment. And it's not that bad. It just feels really weird. This step is really important though, because what it does is it increases the effectiveness of the treatment by 68% and it helps to kill more fat cells. So the place that I had my treatment done uses this machine instead of their hands. And the machine also supposedly treats cellulite. And they say that their machine will actually break up the fat cells more effectively than a manual massage. The machine is included in the price at the spa that I went to. So that's nice. It's like a little perk.
Put on top here.
This one's like
Oh God.
You ready? All right, have
No.
it placed right.
Not ready.
And it'll feel a little funny on the ribs, I will tell you.
I also want to show you what we did on my outer thigh. Instead of using one of the suctioning devices, they actually just placed this cooling panel and strapped it on to that area because it's a larger area and the suctioning device would probably leave a weird indent. So this is nice. If you're looking to do a larger area like this, I would look for a spa that has this exact applicator. Once they're done with the massage, they wipe the area clean and you're done. Or because I covered so many different areas, then you just move on to the next section. I was there for 5 hours and I strongly recommend not doing this. The first few areas that I treated were fine and the massage was fine, it was comfortable, but the last few areas were miserable. I would not recommend doing that many in one day. If you're going to do more than one area, so like for example, if you're doing your flanks and your abs, I suggest finding a practitioner that has more than one of the handles so that you can do your treatment faster. But I would not do as much as I did in one day. It was just too much. For the most part, Coolsculpting has a really quick recovery with minimal discomfort, low risk of complications. Typically, you can resume your normal activities right after the procedure, but I did so many in one day that when I was done, I was exhausted and I just felt horrible. I was bright red on the treated areas, which is normal, and this went away by the next day, but I was sore and tender, and I just went home, took in a leave, and took a nap. And then for the next week or so, I was pretty swollen and my lower abdomen especially was as hard as a rock, especially right under my belly button. It was really, really hard. And I thought I almost did something wrong because the treatment areas kind of overlapped there. And I thought maybe I had hurt my body, but it did eventually go away. What's also really weird is after 4 days, my right hip and flank area went numb. And this lasted for 3.5 months. So it wasn't 100% numb. I still had some sensation, but it didn't feel 100% back. And then my stomach was probably the most painful area. That stayed sore for 2 weeks. And then after a few days, my stomach went numb, and then my right thigh was itchy for about a week. It was mild, it wasn't unbearable, but I think the nerves were just going crazy. And then the lower abdomen hardness went away after 2 weeks. And then the numbness and swelling went away after 3 weeks on my stomach. So recovery, it's not like you're in a compression garment or anything like that, but it's definitely, you feel off. You feel a little bit weird. I also started working out a few days after the treatment, so the downtime really is minimal, but it was painful to do certain moves. It's just if you lay on your stomach and you did your stomach, it's gonna be uncomfortable. Also, just a heads up, in very rare cases, Coolsculpting can lead to an increase in the volume of the fat cells in the areas that you treated. No one really has figured out why that happens, but it seems to happen more in men than women. So something to consider, but really that's the only major risk with Coolsculpting. Some tips for the treatment day: I recommend wearing loose clothing like sweatpants and a sweatshirt, something you don't mind getting that sticky goo on. Wouldn't wear leggings. I wouldn't wear jeans because your skin is going to be swollen. You're going to feel sticky and gross, and it's just not good. And then drink a lot of water after your treatment. This will help your body eliminate the fat cells faster. And because my treatment was 5 hours and I was drinking water during it, between each cycle I had to pee. So I'd probably not drink as much as I was before the treatment. And though technically you don't need to take downtime, I do recommend just taking it easy after your treatment. It's best to not push yourself, especially the day or two right after. And then don't wear clothes that are going to be super irritating. Give that area some time to calm down because you will be red, you will be tender and swollen, especially the next few days. And then also when you're showering, don't use super hot or super cold water and just be gentle in that area. Another thing that my med spa recommended that I do is massage each area for 10 minutes. I think they said twice a day, but I could barely even remember to do once a day. I did it for the first few weeks in the shower and it was very tender and uncomfortable. And then after a few weeks, I just forgot, so whoops. And then every 3 days I went to the med spa, I took after photos, and then they had their 2-minute massage thing for each area. That was a perk at my med spa. I don't know if they all do that, but it's supposed to just help you see better results. Overall, I did notice some subtle results, but I would probably need 1 or 2 more treatments to see a major difference. The biggest improvement I see is on my right outer thigh. And one thing that's frustrating is I wish that I adjusted my underwear in the pictures better. I wore the same outfit every time I went back for pictures, and we would adjust my underwear and pull it down so you could see more of my skin. And for some reason, the fourth time, I thought I was adjusted properly, but I wasn't. So the pictures don't look like, you can't really see as much, which I wish they would have told me. We didn't take these on my camera, so I couldn't go back and look and like edit them. I didn't even think to while I was there because the other 3 times we did it right. So that's a little frustrating because I feel like my after pictures don't show as much as maybe the results are, but honestly, the results are very, very subtle. The other area I see improvement is my lower abdomen. It's a little bit smaller, but what was really weird is between months 2 and 3, the area right above my belly button got this indent. So you can kind of see it in the pictures. It's still like that. I still have that indent. It's not as extreme as between those 2 months, but that's kind of weird and disappointing. And then truthfully, I don't think that their fancy massage tool made any difference on my cellulite. I don't know if it helped with my Coolsculpting, but my cellulite's still there. One thing that I wish I did differently is looked at the before pictures and discussed a better plan for treatment. I feel like because this treatment was in exchange for a full review, I didn't feel like I could really ask to do both sides of my flanks. They probably would have said yes, but I just know how expensive it is, and I felt uncomfortable asking. And now that I'm comparing my pictures, I feel like my left flank is bigger than my right flank. My right flank area and my hip, where they met, I had this weird indent thing happening that I was trying to fix. But my right flank is actually smaller to begin with than the left side. So my body is still uneven, and that's frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. In all honesty, if I paid for this treatment, I would not be very happy. I probably would have spent over $6,000 for all of the areas I did. That was for one treatment, and I don't really notice that big of a difference. I think with lipo, you get more bang for your buck. Like this one, I probably need 2 or 3 more times, which would be, I mean, what, $18,000? That's more expensive than the lipo that I did on my whole body. I mean, just something to be aware of is you might not see results after one time, and it is very expensive. So if you are thinking about getting Coolsculpting, just be prepared that you're gonna spend a lot of money. Yeah, maybe you don't have the downtime that you'll have in liposuction, but you probably also won't see the results quite as quickly as you would with lipo. Although, if you watch my lipo video, you notice that I didn't see those results anyways. I feel like my body just likes to be what it is. You know, it's like, oh, don't mess with me. Like even when I try to lose weight, like just by diet, it doesn't lose weight. Like I think I've weighed the same for 10 years now. Even after lipo and Coolsculpting, my body looks better. I'm in better shape now, but yeah, it's so weird. So I don't know. I'm going to do the Coolsculpting versus lipo video next, and I'll break down the difference between the two, like why you would want one over the other, who's a candidate for each one, and that sort of thing. But overall, I don't know if Coolsculpting was worth it for me for just one session. I have one of my followers on Instagram actually sent me her Coolsculpting results after one treatment, and she looks incredible. I mean, her abs, like she has an 8-pack of abs now, and her before and after pictures, it just really like toned her up, and she looks amazing. So definitely works. People do see results. I think you have to be very fit and very close to your target weight to see results after only one treatment. And as far as like my body changing, like I've never been the person that's super ripped and had like a 6-pack and arm muscles. Like that's just not my body type. So I think if that is your body type and you just have a weird pocket of fat, try Coolsculpting. Otherwise, stay tuned for my next review of lipo versus Coolsculpting, and then we can talk about which would be a better option for you. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions or if you've done Coolsculpting, I would love to hear what your experience was like, and if you're happy with your results, leave it below in the comments.